Hello, hello, hello. A very good evening, good morning, if it's morning in your place, and if there are people joining in where that's afternoon, so good afternoon to you guys as well. And a very, very warm welcome. Uh, Obviously, a revolution is coming, and there was no way that we was going to sit this out. So, a very warm welcome to all of our viewers to this little gathering that we have set up this fine evening here in India, and probably very early morning for you guys from other parts of the world. Uh, this gathering is set up to obviously, talk about everything that's new in the world, and everything that's new in the world of technology, and that effectively leads us to Web3. Like I said, a revolution is coming. Web 1 was uh, a revolution in its own sense, changed the way information sharing was done, and it just changed the face of accessibility as a whole. And then Web 2 came in quite a long time ago, and that's what we have been using so far. That's what we have been on, and that is how we are talking to each other at the moment. But it's time for the next big thing, and that is Web 3, and that is what we are going to talk about today. Obviously, as always, to talk about Web 3 and everything in and around Web 3, and to join in on this conversation, of course, we have a lineup of some amazing speakers who have had an opportunity to work in the Web 3, in the blockchain space, and understand what it's all about. And that's why they're here to help you understand what Web 3 is all about. Uh, Obviously, enjoy the show. To tell you more about what we are doing here today, and how this event is going to go and what to expect out of it, let me take this opportunity to bring on stage with me Pushkar Kumar. He is going to be delivering the keynote today, and I think he is live with us. There he is. Hi, Pushkar.
Yeah, hi Digvijay.
How are you doing this evening? How is your Saturday been so far?
Yeah, it's good. Really excited for our first Web3 meetup.
I know, right?
It's yeah, it's really
It's
an exciting space. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
uh,
and there's so much to talk about. There's I mean, Web 3, just the concept of it came very recently, but so much has been done, and there is so much to talk about, and so many different things that we're going to explore here today. Obviously, guys, you have seen Pushkar here so many times, but he's one person here at Geekians who's been doing so many things, and why blockchain wouldn't be one of them, right? He's had the opportunity to dip his hands into the world of Web 3 and blockchain, and that is well, I'll just let you speak from your experience, Pushkar. So why don't you take this opportunity to let everyone know what we are doing here tonight, this evening, today, wherever time zones are confusing. So let them know what to expect out of this event today.
Sure. Thank you, Digvijay. Thanks for the introduction. So this is going to be our first Web3 meetup. Web3 is like really an exciting space. Probably everyone is talking about, as the name suggests, Web3. So this is the next version of the web evolution that we are going to have. So starting from say 1994 to 2004, when web became more and more centralized, within applications like Facebook and Twitter, where the information and transaction needs to go through a centralized server, and we dependent basically on big corporations and MNCs like uh, Twitter and Facebook to process all our information. And that's when the concept of decentralized network came in. So Web3 is nothing but a web on top of the blockchain technology. So blockchain is the core of Web3. And it's a really a new space, still in its very early stage. However, almost everyone is talking about it. There are people who are skeptical to it, call it like a Ponzi scheme, but almost everyone is exploring what this space is about. So we are really having a very good line of speakers today who has experimented a lot with Web3. And we have selected all those speakers specifically based on their experience. So coming to the Web3 point, Web3 is still a very tiny community, but it is growing very, very fast. As per GitHub, now it has around 18,000 active developers every month. So basically, these are the developers who go ahead and do open source contribution at least once in month. And number of developers around the ecosystem is growing every year. So in 2016 to 2021, in 5 years, it has grown 9 times. Although it's still very, very small if we compare uh, to other communities such as Java or JavaScript, but it is growing very, very fast. So we at Geekians, we love to explore any technology, be it, and especially if it is around web. So we went ahead, we started experimenting around Web3, and we did a lot of experiments around that. Web3, since it's really relatively new, so one of the key challenges around that is to explore all the terminologies around it. So we spent some time, understood what the Web3 space is, and then we started building some of the apps around. So we built a Web3 app using Solidity and React. This particular application is available, is open source and is available on our tech blog as well. So go and check it out. Another one is the NFT based multiplayer game. So one of our speaker, Viral, he has created this game, again an open source game. Go check it out. Another one is a blockchain game that we built on top of Flutter. One of our speakers today, Rishabh, he has actively contributed to this particular game. We did a lot of experiments around this game, and probably this is one such project that might be available very soon for everyone to explore about. We even went ahead and did a lot of articles and open source around blockchain. So do go ahead and check out our tech blog at Geekians. Introducing our speakers. So as I mentioned, Rishabh, he has actively been working on a blockchain game that is built with Flutter. So he will be basically introducing us to Web3, all the terminologies around, and based on his experience of creating a game around that. And then we have Saurabh, who will be talking about different technologies of Web3. Is very active in this space, does open source contribution as well. Other than that, we will have Sameer from Front Row. He will be guiding us to the Web3 stack. And then Viral will basically be explaining what is DAO and how they work. I will definitely recommend you guys to go ahead and check Viral's GitHub as well. He has done a lot of open source around Web3 and the space. Coming to the code of conduct, so do not use any hate speech or inappropriate comments. Try to keep it light. Be respectful and refrain from any strong words. Don't spam questions in the chat. So you can go ahead, you can put your questions, and maybe in the end, Digvijay will uh, help getting your questions through to the speaker. Also, one of the more important thing is go ahead and network. So yeah, thank you and enjoy the event.
Thank you so much for that, Pushkar. You're right about one thing. I will be helping all of your questions get answered with our speakers here today. So don't spam your questions. Just let them leave them in the comments section or in the live chat, and we will pick your questions from there and get them answered for sure. Thank you so much, Pushkar, for that wonderful introduction
Thank
to the
you.
world of Web3. And I am excited to get to learn more about it, and I'm sure you are as well. And I will definitely see you towards the end of this journey that we are embarking on tonight.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you and see you again.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, guys, with Pushkar telling us what we're going to expect out of this event today, let's start on this wonderful journey of Web3 with obviously the introduction for Web3, which I would like to welcome on stage Rishabh Sharma. Rishabh is going to be talking about the technologies of Web3 and what's happening in the world and get you started on this particular journey. Is Rishabh here with us today? There he is.
Hi.
Very good evening, Rishabh. How are you doing?
A very good evening to you. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Excited.
Yes.
It's going to be really. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and I'm just so glad that we are officially starting to learn so much about Web3 now. And obviously, for as an introduction, Rishabh is a software engineer at Geeky Ants, and he is also a very avid reader. He loves to read a lot. I'd let you tell him about what he has read recently and whatever tips he has picked from his readings. Uh, Alongside that, of course, he loves to play basketball, and you're a dog dad as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
So I have a golden retriever.
well, you have not a golden retriever, but all the love in the world. Technically, that's how I
True.
like to call them.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right. Well, anyway, Rishabh, I'll let you talk to our viewers today, and why don't we begin this journey?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Sharma, and I will be giving you an introduction to Web3. So, I'll be going over the differences over Web 1 to Web 2 and to Web 3, and I will be giving a brief overview of the blockchain technology. I will also be talking about Solidity, smart contracts, ABI, and the different types of smart contracts, the ERC20 and ERC 721. So let's start with Web 1 and an overview of how the internet was. So Web 1.1, 1.0 refers to the first stage of the World Wide Web. From 1989 to 2005, you could only read the data from static websites on the internet. So when you loaded a website on your computer, it just a bunch of information, and that was it. It was like an encyclopedia, so it was pretty boring. The websites were built by companies, and the users of the internet were mostly consumers. As we can see from these images over here, this was the website of Apple.com, Walmart.com, and MSN. This was in 2004 and 2001. So, Web 2.0 started from 2005 and it started gaining popularity. It is an enhanced version of Web 1.0, and Web 2.0 is also called a participative social web. It does not refer to any specific updates over Web 1.1. It refers to the modification in the way we interact with the web pages. So Web 2.0 is about reading and writing data from the web applications. The biggest change in Web 2.0 was its interactivity. So instead of web pages just providing us information, we also started sharing information with the web. And we would willingly share this information for better personalization and for creating a community. So, for example, I'm sharing this presentation with you right now on YouTube, and similarly, you can share your opinions and thoughts in the comment section. And this sharing of information is critical to building community. But there is one major limitation about Web 2.0 is that we interact with the internet more. These websites collect our data for better personalization, but these companies can also sell these data to advertisers. So Web 2.0 is a lot of targeted advertising, and there is lack of privacy in Web 2.0. So Web 3.0 is gaining a lot of popularity now, and Web 3.0 is the next evolution of the internet based on the blockchain technology and the tools of decentralization. In Web 3.0, instead of the companies being the owner of our data, it is us who become the owners of our data. Web 3.0 consists of blockchain applications, which are more commonly known as decentralized app or dApps. Uh, the benefits of Web3 applications are that they are verifiable, trustless, permissionless, distributed, and robust, and an, there is native built-in application payment support. It is verifiable because it is built on blockchain technology, which is encrypted and it can be calculated through proof of work. It is trustless because there is no intermediary company which monitors the blockchain. It is permissionless. You can access any of the information that is there on blockchain, and once it is uploaded to the blockchain, it cannot be changed. So now let me give you a brief overview of blockchain. In Web3, developers build and deploy applications that run on the blockchain. Blockchain is a distributed ledger that are completely open to everyone. They have a unique property that once a data has been recorded on the network, it becomes next to impossible to change it. Uh, a blockchain collects information together in groups known as blocks, and these blocks hold a set of information. Each block has a certain storage capacity, and when filled, these blocks are closed, and then they link to the previous block, forming a chain. This is known as a blockchain. Now, each block contains data, uh, and a hash of the block, and a hash of the previously linked block. The hash of each block is unique, and once a block has been created, its hash has been calculated, and it changing any of the data inside the block changes the hash of the block. So we can never change the data of an existing. This also helps us in verifying the block in the chain. As we do proof of work and we find that a certain block has been altered, its hash value will change. The block which is in front of it has a value of the previous hash, which does not match in the proof of work. So we can never alter an already present block. Now, to interact with the blockchain, we have smart contracts. And smart contracts are simply small programs that are stored on the blockchain and they run whenever a predetermined condition. So a smart contract works by following a simple if, else, then statements, and these are written into code on the blockchain. Whenever a specific condition is met, a network of computers executes this code to perform the action. So, for example, in this, suppose, for example, I want to buy a chocolate from a vending machine, and the vending machine has a smart contract where the condition is that if a required amount of fund has been specified, then it will execute the action where it will release the product. So once I send once I send the money to the vending machine, the predetermined condition of the vending machine sending the money has been met and it will release the product. So what are the benefits of smart contracts? Smart contracts are fast, efficient, and accurate. Smart contracts are transparent because everybody has a copy of the transaction. Everybody has a copy of the ledger, and they can verify the proof of work whether the transaction is valid or not. It is also secure. So blockchain transactions are encrypted, which makes them very hard to hack. And hackers also have to go through the whole blockchain to verify the proof of work to alter any data, which makes it next to impossible. Now talking about solidity. Solidity is a high-level objected language for implementing our smart contracts, and we can create it acts as a tool to write our machine-level code and compile that to Ethereum virtual machine. For example, we have a block of code over here. This is a contract of hello, where in the constructor it uh, it gives a message of initial data to the parameter message. There is also a function of set message if we want to change that data to a different message. Uh, Now moving from Solidity to ABS. ABIs are application binary interfaces, and an ABI is the interface between two program modules. So one which is often at the machine code. So it is the interface between our application and the blockchain. So ABI defines the structures and methods that our compiled application will use to access the uh, external library on the machine level, and data is encoded according to its type as described in this specification. So in this contract, we have two methods specifically. One function is the transfer function, which takes two inputs, and we have the input two, which is the sender's address, and then there's the amount. So in two, we specify a hash value, and in amount, we specify the amount of cryptocurrency or the tokens that we want to send. The second method that we have is the get balance method. And in get balance method, we have a parameter of account where this function returns us the balance of the specific amount that we want to get. So smart contracts get compiled and into bytecode and ABI, and then they are deployed on the contract address. Now, the contract address is the Ethereum blockchain, where they are executed whenever a condition is met, or in ABI is called. Now, talking about the different types of smart contracts, I'll have to first give you an overview of the tokens. There are different types of tokens. Tokens like DeFi tokens, government tokens, security tokens, non-fungible tokens. But I'll be talking mostly about DeFi tokens and non-fungible tokens. So technically, token is another word for a cryptocurrency or a crypto asset. DeFi tokens are tokens that are equal to any other token. So all the cryptocurrencies are example for this. One token of Ether is equal to another token of Ether, no matter their value. So, but in non-fungible tokens, they are unique and they are often used as collectible tokens, collectible items. And in each token of an NFT has a different value as another token. An example of this is the Bored Ape NFT, which has been very popular right now. Talking about smart contracts, there are two major smart contracts which I use. One is for the fungible tokens, which is ERC20 contracts, and the ERC721 contracts, which is used for non-fungible tokens. Now, ERC stands for Ethereum Request for Comment, and the ERC20 standard was implemented in 2015. An ERC token contract keeps track of fungible tokens, which means that all tokens are the same. And ERC20 contracts contain several functions, but they have to meet specific methods to be called ERC20 standard. These methods are the total supply of balance, transfer from, approve, allowance. Total supply provides the information about the total token supply. How many, for example, how many bitcoins are there in the blockchain? Balance of provides us the account balance of the owner. Transfer method, it executes the transfers of a specified number of tokens from one wallet to another wallet. And transfer from executes transfers from a specified number of tokens from a specified address. Now moving on to the ERC 721 contracts. ERC 721 is a more advanced standard than ERC 20. It is built upon the ERC20 standard, and it is a standard for representing the ownership of non-fungible tokens. That is tokens that are unique. So to make each token unique, we need to find out first who owns this. So we have a specific list of methods that ESC 721 standards has to make. Some of these functions are owner of. Now, owner of function gives us the information that who owns a specific token, and another method is safe transfer from. So safe transfer from safely transfers a token from from the receiver's address to the sender's address, and it also checks if the 721 protocol prevents tokens from being forever locked. Now, ESC for decentralized applications, we also have to talk about crypto wallets, as they help us interacting with the blockchain, and they are key values. So unlike their name, crypto wallets don't actually store our crypto. Our crypto, or the tokens that we own, is actually held on the blockchain, and the crypto wallets contain our private keys as well as public keys. So crypto wallets help us to interact with the blockchain and with these keys, and they provide us the ownership of our digital money, and we can uh, also make transactions using crypto wallets. So if I want to send a certain amount of money, I can go to the crypto wallet and I can run the command transfer, which will transfer a specific amount of money to a different address. Yeah, thank you.
Hi again, Rishabh.
Hi, Digvijay.
Thank you so much for that brief and wonderful introduction to the world of Web3 and everything that happens on the backside of it, uh, and all the different aspects that we need to know to understand the space of Web3 better, and to be able to get into the Web3 space with, of course, the important concepts of blockchain and smart contracts and all of that. Uh, while during your
Correct.
presentation, of course, Rishabh, there was one question that came in. Balaji says that he heard about ERC 1155, and if you can explain a little about that.
ERC 115 is also another token standard. Uh, it is used for fungible tokens as well. Uh, I'll have to explore more about ERC 1155. Yeah. So, Balaji, you can always connect with me. My uh, account is Rishabh2996. So you can always ping me and I can get back to you.
Right. So, Balaji, of course, in the description below, you can find the Twitter accounts of all of our speakers today. So you can always connect with Rishabh, and you guys can have a discussion about this. Uh, Also, while we were having this discussion, Rishabh, another question came in. Coding Club wants to know if we should focus more on Ethereum or Hyperledger.
Okay. I'm not very familiar with Hyperledger. I'm familiar with Ethereum. So they're both open source and publicly decentralized blockchains. Ethereum is very expensive, as there are very few uh, computations which can happen at a specific amount of time. So it takes a lot of gas fees as well. I'm not very familiar with Hyperledger, so yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get to that. So I think that's the time, all the time we have for those questions at the moment, Rishabh. Thank you so much for walking us through what Web3 is and giving us this great introduction to it. Of course, we will see you towards the end of the event again. So stick around and I'll
Absolutely.
talk to you again.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. So that was Rishabh, and that was a brief and a quick introduction to what Web3 is all about and everything that you need to know to be able to walk in this space better. But now that we know and understand that Web3 is a technology that's mostly driven by privacy, and every single thing that's been, every single concept that's been implemented in Web3 revolves around this increasing concern about privacy that we have as digital users in this digital space. Uh, it's also interesting to understand what kind of technologies work in order to make the Web3 what it is. And for that, I would like to introduce on stage with me Saurabh Srivastava. He's a software engineer at Geeky Ants, and he is here with us.
Hi
Hi,
Digvijay.
hi, Saurabh. Very good evening.
Good evening to you as well.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am great. I am great. Thank you so much. So Saurabh, I think you would be the just the right person to tell us more about the technologies that work in order to create this space that we know as Web3 today. Uh, Guys, Saurabh is a thinker. He is a philosopher. He loves political literature, and of course, he is a grade A programmer. Uh, but you have already won in life, according to me. You are already more patient than I am because you're into Dark Souls. I could never get into it.
I completed all the three series.
I don't know how you do it. I have them, but I just cannot bring it's too much of an investment for me, to be honest with you. But I will surely talk to you about this someday. Maybe you can
Yeah.
convince me to start Dark Souls, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, Saurabh, so I will leave you with our speakers and tell us what's next.
Okay. Let me just start presenting the screen then. Okay. Welcome to the session on technologies of Web3. The goal of this talk is to introduce you guys with the tools and tech available in the Web3 ecosystem so that you can build your next app a lot faster. Before we start, this is my introduction. My name is Saurabh Srivastava. I'm a software engineer in Geeky Ants. I love to make coding videos in YouTube, and this is my channel's name, IB Coder. This is my Twitter handle if you want to connect, and I also write some blogs on Hashnode. All right, let's see what we are going to look into this talk. What is our agenda for today? We are first going to look into what is Web3. I'm not going to go deep into it because Rishabh has already taken that task and fulfilled it perfectly. Then we are going to look into some technical terminologies. This is very short again. Then will come our main part, which is technologies in Web3 ecosystem that will help you build any app as fast as possible. Then we are going to look into what are the different spheres or areas where we can use the Web3 or where it is being used currently. Again, a short one. And then finally, I will conclude with one self-written quote. Okay. So what is Web3? I won't go into depth as I told. I will focus on the three core values and three core technological areas which Web3 will operate on. What are the three core values here? The first value, the first of the three core values is openness. In terms of open source and open network, okay, everything that you'll find in Web3, if they are following the ethos of Web3, should be open sourced and they should be on open network or otherwise known as blockchain networks. The second value here is or ethos here is that and this is inbuilt in technology is that it should be trustless, meaning no need for third party to generate trust between the two parties that are involved in any sort of interaction. Okay. The third is the permissionless. What is permissionless? Well, in a sense, it means that both users and suppliers or the parties that are interacting with each other can participate without the authorization of a governing body. That's called permissionless in terms of Web3. So these are the three core values or ethos of Web3. Then we are going to look into what are the three core technologies that, well, technological areas that the Web3 will cover eventually. The first is the edge computing. This simply means that your data devices itself is a source of computing power, meaning your mobile phones, your vehicles, your desktops, laptops, they are all the source of computing powers, and because they are spread across the globe, in a sense across the edge of the globe, hence the terminology that we use is basically edge computing. Then we have decentralized data networks. This is another one of the core technological areas that the Web3 should be built upon, and it will enhance, let's say. So these are the devices, basically all the devices that I just talked about, when they become the data networks themselves, right? And what happens when you have your device as a data network is that you have complete control over the privacy and the permission of the access or selling of your data to anyone, giving birth to what is known as data economy, where a user is a sole owner and controller of its own data. So I can sell my data, or I can just refuse to sell my data. That's up to me. If I am going to sell my data, I'm going to earn something from it. That's what is known as data economy. And the final part, and this is a big part, which is like the hidden part, nobody talks about it, is that we are going to be using the artificial intelligence in Web3. With such massive pool of data, the potential for the AI is quite huge and can go beyond whatever we know right now. It's just going to skyrocket. Okay, so in the words of Max and Richard, and I'll provide the source for this code at the end, Web3 enables the future where distributed users and machines are able to interact with data, value, and other counterpart parties via substrate of peer-to-peer network without the need for third parties. The result, a composable, human-centric, and privacy-preserving computing fabric for the next wave of the web. All right. Now that we have looked into the values and technologies at heart, let's first answer what are the some technical terminologies used in the Web3 app building that you will come across eventually. The first is a smart contract. Smart contract is nothing but a backend code that we deploy on a blockchain network, let's say Ethereum blockchain. It is deployed in bytecode format. Then we have application binary interface. ABI, in short, is an interface through which we allow our application to interact with the deployed smart contract using smart contract addresses. And the third terminology that I will talk about is transactions. Every operation which changes the state of blockchain, say Ethereum, is known as transaction. It costs gas fees. Okay. Before going into the meat of the presentation, one more thing that needs to be talked about is the technological layer which enables Web3. It has 5 parts. So the first part is layer 0. This is not something that as application developer we ever interact with, but this is something the very base of the entire thing. This is kind of like a protocol layers. Okay, so we have to have P2P internet overlay protocol layer, right? That is what lib P2P or dev P2P. And then we also have in layer 0 platform neutral computation description languages like WASM or EVM, right? Etc. Then we have layer 1, which is data distribution protocols come here, which is IPFS. This is where you actually kind of like get all the links or decentralized links where you store your data. For example, the Bored Ape NFT is actually stored here. Okay, and then we have low trust interaction platforms, then low trust interaction protocols like Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., and then transient data messaging like Whisper or Matrix. These are all layer 1 part. Then we have layer 2. Layer 2 have like state channels, plasma protocols, encrypted storage, etc. This is where we are going to come into picture as an application developer if we want to build anything on Web3. Layer 3. Layer 3 is protocol extensible developer APIs and languages. So it includes Web3 JS, EtherJS, Solidity, and Rust. And then we have layer 4, which is protocol extensible user interface kernel, which is in very simple terms, it means that this is a layer which helps you interact with your users. So let's say wallets come here. So MetaMask wallet, Phantom wallet, etc. Okay, let's finally talk about the tools and tech that will help you build your Web3 app faster than when you didn't know about these tools. We are going to look into Moralis here. Okay, Moralis is one of the tools that I quite liked. I worked with it and I quite liked it. Then we are going to look into Superfluid, then the third web, then the alchemy, and then this graph. Graph is quite great of a tool that you can leverage in order to index decentralize your blockchain, let's say. Okay, let me be precise. First of all, there won't be any code here, just introduction, which will point you to them so that you can explore yourself. Okay, I'm not going to tackle any code here. Okay, let's start with Moralis. So Moralis can be seen as a Firebase of crypto. If you know about Firebase, just assume that sort of simplicity while you are working with any blockchain app in the future, okay, in the Web3 app. It provides managed backend for blockchain projects, automatically syncing the balances of your users into the database, allowing you to set up on-chain alerts, watch smart contract events, build indexes, and so much more. You can do all of that through this particular Moralis tool. And mind you, in very few lines of code, 3-4 lines, and everything is already taken care of. It is the fastest way to build and deploy DApps or decentralized apps on Ethereum, BSC, Polygon, Solana, and Elrond. Therefore, not to mention, it literally means that Moralis DApps are cross-chain by default. Building on Moralis ensures that your decentralized app is future-proof. Even if new blockchain are invented, your DApp will instantly work on that chain. Okay. Now, Moralis has something as a core which is known as Moralis server. So it's a server that they maintain, and there are two parts of each DApps. So there's anytime you are going to build a decentralized app, you are going to have two parts. One is the on-chain part for all the security and the privacy and the features and the ethos that come with Web 2, Web 3. And then you're going to have an off-chain part, which is going to be a part where your user, or let's say, which will help your user to have quick interactions, right? You cannot just simply let your user interact with blockchain directly. Otherwise, every interaction is a little bit slow. So this server is used in order to speed up this off-chain part implementation. It's a bundled solution that Moralis provides. It has all the features that most DApps need. As you can see, this is the on-chain part, smart contracts, on-chain assets like tokens and NFTs, on-chain transaction, etc. And then this is the off-chain part, which is basically backend infrastructure that collect the data from the blockchain, offers the API to clients like web apps and mobile apps, indexes the blockchain, and so on. Okay, these are all the off-chain part. And this is the image that I just took from their docs. So I'll be providing the link of the doc at the end. And in this image, you can see that as a dashboard, it gives you the network traffic per second information. It gives you the CPU usage information, the server CPU usage information, the RAM usage information, the disk usage information, and how many users do you have signed up using their wallet in your app. So this is everything is provided here. And their website is on moralis.io, https moralis.io, and they also have a very great YouTube channel where they teach you how you can build stuff on Web3 using Moralis. So you can definitely check this out. The next thing that we are going to talk about is Superfluid. Now, Superfluid is a new DeFi primitive that automates recurring transaction. This is to be noted, recurring transaction by allowing tokens to flow seamlessly on Ethereum. So it enables a variety of functions from money streaming to one transaction reward distribution. I'll talk about what this means in just a while. smart contract callbacks, a user level batch call system, and an SDK for the apps. Okay, what is money streaming? Well, think about sending endless stream without locking your tokens upfront to a wallet. The stream will keep on flowing until you stop it or run out of funds. Receivers will get the token directly in their wallet. No withdrawal is required. Okay. Then we have the instant distribution. Distribute the rewards from one wallet to, let's say, multiple wallets. Here in this case, the example is thousands of recipients in a single transactions. Okay. So if this is not clear, let me give you a brief idea as to what kind of app that can be built using Superfluid. So these are some app ideas that I came up and not came I came up with, or let's say I pulled from this particular Notion link, and this slide I will provide it at the end so that you guys can actually see what this is. But this is from a hackathon that I attended, and there were multiple people who are building multiple things. So this is some ideas that I picked from there. One is the NFT that sends its owner a reward token as long as they hold it. So, for example, think about you give somebody an NFT, and that NFT has to have been held right there, because many people are just there to get the reward, and then dump it. Now, imagine that you want your art or your NFT, let's say, to be valued and only provide benefit as long as it is being held by the user. So you can just do that using the Superfluid. As long as they have that, the tokens will keep flowing to their wallet. Then we have something, let's say, a platform for attaching royalties or donations to existing NFTs that can be built here. We can also have income sharing agreement that can come up with it. One of my ideas was like kind of like freelance in Web3 that can be built with it. And or you can think about it like you can build a Netflix type of streaming site where the user pays as long as they stream the video. That's it. They don't have to pay monthly subscription or everything. Just play and pay, or pay and play, something like that. Okay. So these are the app ideas that can be found in Superfluid, and this is a link where you can actually read more about these ideas that came up in that hackathon. The third is Third Web. ThirdWeb basically provides a smart contracts, SDKs, and UI components that creators, game studios, and developers can integrate into their app. Trust me when I say this is the most user-friendly and most, what you can say, this is kind of like, if you have less coding experience in terms of Web3, this is the thing that you will want to go for. Okay, ThirdWeb. It helps create NFTs and custom tokens. Tokens literally means crypto coins. Manage drops, develop our own white label marketplaces, and much more. The tools and SDKs of ThirdWeb are free to use. We only pay the small percentage of any royalty we receive. So once your app is deployed on mainnet, they have some royalties. So anytime you receive a payment, they get that. And currently, you can use JavaScript and Python for its SDKs to interact with its SDKs. This is their website name, thirdweb.com. And as you can see, you can build NFTs, marketplaces, tokens, packs, drops, splits. So packs are basically a loot boxes type of scenario. This is something that we built, that I built, let's say. And drops are basically like timely drops. User can claim, like you can claim some NFTs. These are for that. Let's say certain activity is completed. Now you can just go and claim it for free. So this is that sort of scenario. And this is the fourth one, Alchemy. Now, Alchemy, this is a very short mention. It's basically a Web3 wrapper around Web3.js. It's a wrapper around Web3.js. If you have already worked with Web3, think of it like this is just a wrapper that provides enhanced API methods around that. So what are some enhancement that it provides is automatic retries on rate limit. That's one of them. Then it has like upgraded WebSockets which don't miss events if the WebSocket needs to be reconnected. So what happens in Web3.js is like if like there's a disconnection, the event actually gets missed. And this is one of the fundamental problems with WebSockets. So it has upgraded WebSockets, which does not fall into that trap. Okay. Then is also like a seamless provider handling, where most requests will be sent through Alchemy, but requests involving signing and sending transactions are sent via browser like provider like MetaMask or Trust Wallet if the user has it installed, or via custom provider specified in options. So it's like a seamless provider handling. So it's very easy to handle the provider side of things like MetaMask and the layer 4 side of things. And this is their website on alchemy.com. You can go and check out their website and their docs. Finally, let's come to this graph one. This is something that I quite liked. So a graph is an indexing protocol for querying networks like Ethereum and IPFS. Anyone can build and publish open APIs. This is the part, open APIs called subgraphs, making data easily accessible. So if you don't get it, you'll get it by the end of this. So in practice, this basically does for Web3 what Google did for existing internet. Like you can search any site, Google indexes it, and it lists you that. So that's basically what it is. It's kind of like that only. So in order to achieve that, they have two products. Okay, they have two products. One is the graph protocol, which is available on the graph.com/explorer. So this is a graph explorer. This is the first product that they have. Okay, and you can find the link. You can just go to this link and you'll find what it is. It helps us search existing subgraphs deployed on blockchain networks like Ethereum and IPFS. So it indexes them, all the subgraphs or that you have. And subgraphs, I'll talk about what they are. So it indexes them and you can just search them here. Very easy. Then they have also like subgraph studio. So basically /studio if you want to go there. This is the second product that they have, and it helps us create subgraphs which are open API built on top of blockchain. So what are subgraphs? Subgraphs are open API built on top of blockchain. So this is it, right? So they help you create a subgraph, and then they can also help you search other subgraph that already exist. And subgraph are basically just open API that can be like used to get or fetch or data from the blockchain. And this is their site. This is a graph explorer. All of these are deployed subgraphs that you can see. All these, they are all deployed subgraphs. You can search for subgraph and look for their information if you need it. So this is one of the subgraph that I was checking. And once you click on it, it will open and it will show you all its information like network, query URL, subgraph ID, what it is, what's its domain URL, what is GitHub URL, because remember Web3 has to be open sourced. So it's GitHub URL, query fees, etc. That signal button that you see on the top, it helps indicate that indexing of this subgraph is important. So anytime you find that certain subgraph is important to you, you click on that button, you pay a certain amount, and the chain will start indexing it much better. So as you can see, it's in the middle and the progress is like 100%. So that's the entire range. And for querying operation, any querying operation, you need to create an API, and you can see that manage API keys link. That's where you can go and create your own API URL. And this will require you to have a MetaMask wallet, by the way. And then you can check on that documentation that they have where you can use your own language to work with this API. And this is the subgraph studio. So using a studio, you can create your own subgraphs or open API for querying blockchain data of your choice. For example, let's say you want to create an NFT API, you can do that. OpenSea, if you don't know, actually has its own API that fetches the NFT for you. And if you have used MetaMask, you have to understand that MetaMask actually uses the OpenSea API to fetch your NFT existing on the blockchain network. In case OpenSea blocks that your NFT from their API, MetaMask will lose that access to the blockchain. So in case you want to build your own NFT API, you can do that using this subgraph. So let me remind a little bit, like this is something that I just put it at the end to understand what graphs is, summarize what graph is. It's the easiest way to index and query data. It's transparent and open network and not proprietary software. That's one. It's completely decentralized and robust, maintaining the ethos of like Web3. These are two things that we need. Decentralization, the part of Web3 ethos. And finally, most of you must have guessed it, it's built on top of GraphQL. So that if you have worked with GraphQL, you will find it very easy to work with Graph. Okay, let's see what are the different areas of Web3. And this is just one slide, so just bear with me. What are the different areas of Web3 is basically DeFi. DeFi means decentralized finance. And the importance here is, imagine sending massive amount or even a little bit of amount from one country to another in seconds. That's the thing that we are talking about when we are talking about decentralized finance, and also like no governing body in between, just people to people interaction. Then we have NFTs, which is another area of Web3, which is basically non-fungible tokens. So if you have like two coins of 1 rupee or $1, whatever cents you have, right, you can change it from one to another, right? So if I have one coin and you have one coin, it does not matter. There's no that's basically a fungible token, because one can be exchanged for another. NFTs basically means one cannot be exchanged for another. So let's say our fingerprint, that's basically a nature's non-fungible token, fingerprint or DNA. Okay, what is metaverse? So the way I see it, metaverse is basically a remodeled or restructured virtual reality. That name virtual reality didn't pick up the tongue, and metaverse kind of like feels like fictional fictional entity. So it kind of like went way, it became too popular. So it's just metaverse or virtual reality on steroids. Why steroids? Is because we now have, let's say, the technology and the internet speed and everything that we require to build something like that. It's the same scenario that happened with API, like it existed in 1960. And even though the only drawback that AI had back then was that the data wasn't available, and by 2003 and onwards, with the advent of internet, which became so popular, the data just became so massive. Now the AI can work with it. So it's the same thing. Metaverse or virtual reality thinking pattern exists in 1990. Well, the time wasn't right. Now the time is right for it to work. Then we can do something like marketplaces. This is another one of the areas in Web3. So OpenSea is a marketplace for selling art or NFTs. So this can be that. Or the freelance website could be another marketplace. So just some ideas. Then we also have another area in Web3, which is decentralized apps, right? And they are a little bit different than OpenSea, because look, the different, if you want to differentiate between what is Web2 and Web3 in current market, anytime you don't pay for any interaction in any of the website, understand that it's a part of Web2. If you are paying something or using your wallet, it's a part of Web3. That's as simple an explanation as I can give you that on there, to differentiate between what is Web2 currently and what is Web3. And then we can also build something in this area of Web3 as tokens. So crypto tokens basically means Bitcoin, Ethereum, they are all tokens. So every blockchain has to have a token mechanism and tokenomics, let's say, and they operate on that. So this is something that you can build as well. So these six are like the broad areas in which the Web3 ecosystem will evolve in future more, in my opinion. The DeFi, NFTs, metaverse, marketplaces, the apps, and tokens. Let's see what happens in future. So this is the code that I talked about. Web3 is a wonderful space to be involved in if you're currently living right now, as this is the correct time to do so, when we are not too late and we are not too early either, right? We are at the very great time to be involved in this. There's a huge opportunity that comes with huge risk involved to bring some massive change in the software industry within the next decade, which will have overarching effect on every other industry present in the markets, every other sector, from finance to the way we do the HR department team, the management, everything is about to change, right? So if we can pull it off, if we as a software engineers can pull it off, it will be like massive change. And not to mention, we have to understand that for the first time, as software engineers, we can act on like self managers or like finance system builders as well, right? So this is a great opportunity. Let's not let go of that. And from only this, I will be concluding my entire talk. This, for the sake of transparency and for the sake of giving credit from where I learned these things, these are the sources. So one is from Web3 technology stacks. You can definitely check these out. The links will be here as they are. And thank you for coming to this session. I hope you liked it.
Saurabh, thank you so much for that. That was an amazing walkthrough of all the technologies that are involved in Web3. And I wholeheartedly agree with you when you say that this is the right moment to get into Web3. I think I also agree and concur that I think we are in that sweet spot right now where advancement is necessary. And now is the bad time where we have the bandwidth to do it.
Yes.
And so that was amazing. Thank you so much for that. During your talk, there were two questions that came in. So Justine wants to know why most DApps are deployed on AWS and other similar services.
Okay. Well, this is one of the problems, right? This is something that we are trying to solve, that we don't have any interaction with the Web2 side of technologies or any centralized entity. Because if we are deploying our web app, DApps on AWS, they can just make it go away anytime they want. Now, why most DApps are deployed on AWS is it has the same reason why most current app are deployed on AWS, because they in current era they have the best tooling and best services, let's say, to and scaling ability to do so. But if we are truly immersed into the ethos of Web3, this is not something that should be done. So many people are actually trying to figure out like where we can do this the same sort of scenario in the decentralized way, and this will take time because the to compete with AWS in terms of speed, scalability, and everything, the things are being built. Well, let's say how far that it takes.
Makes a lot of sense. I hope that answers your question, Justine. Apurv wants to know whether Graph Index is only on ERC20 blockchain, or does it also index on all other blockchains like Solana, Binance, Luna, and all those others?
Yeah, this
And
is something that.
moreover,
Hmm.
why exactly do we need indexing?
Okay, so for the first question, I am not that sure because I only work with the fact that it can index Ethereum part. That's for sure. But if it can index IPFS, I'm pretty sure that it might be able to index other blockchain network. But Ethereum is the only thing that they say, Ethereum and IPFS. Other than that, they don't say anything of indexing yet. As far as why do we need indexing, well, it's the same thing, right? If you want to search anything anywhere, let's say, why do we need SEO is the basic question that is being asked here. It's like, why
Hmm.
do we, if you use Google, you want to search things as quickly as possible, and that is only possible if you have indexed, if Google has already indexed those sites based on some criteria, right? So that's why we need to have index if we want to find quickly the things or the apps or the that is deployed on blockchain. Right now there is no mechanism other than Graph that I know which is as efficient as Graph, let's say. So this is something that we need indexing for, is to get what we need as quickly as possible. Otherwise, it's just another darknet. Right? Nobody interacts with darknet, and we want to make people interact with Web3.
So the underlying principles remain the same. The foundation is the same. It's just that we are doing things differently now. So indexing follows the same suit as the current web at the
Yeah, the
moment.
foundations are still the same 1970s when internet was built. I mean, That's why people are able to still hack
Like
things
a ledger.
like a
So
ledger.
you know, if you need to go somewhere, we know page 20, line 3. That's where you are.
That's where you are. Yes.
Right. So I hope that answers the question, Apoorv. And Saurabh, that's all the questions we have. So obviously, I'm going to see you again towards the end of the event.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for speaking to our viewers, and I'll see you again.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, folks. When Saurabh says that this is the right time to get into Web3, you better believe him. And so it is the right time for you to be a part of this conversation that we are having today as well. So don't forget to tweet about us. Follow us on Twitter at the handle at the rate Kiki Ants, and tweet about what we are doing today. Let your friends know. Let everybody who's interested in Web3 in your circles know, so they can also join in on the fun and learn a lot about Web3 with us. So we have officially reached the mid section, halfway through our event, obviously. And now that we know what kind of technologies are involved in Web3, in the Web3 space, let's talk about the Web3 space and the Web3 stack with my next guest, who is Sameer Kashyap. And he's going to be talking about a guide through the Web3 stack. And Sameer is here with us. Sameer, there you are.
Hi,
Hi,
Digvijay.
hi, hi.
How are
Welcome
you?
back. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. What about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. Well, folks, Sameer has been doing a lot of things. He is obviously in the software industry as a prominent name. You'd see him in a lot of places. He loves exploring new technologies, and that's what has led him to blockchain and Web3. And I think you're also involved in building a product on the chain itself.
Yeah. I've been experimenting with a couple of things. Yeah,
Mhm.
hoping to build something soon.
Well, I'll probably let you speak about that with our viewers. But for the time being, Sameer, I'm going to let you talk to everybody who's online with us and take it away.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Digvijay. So I think my screen should be visible. Yeah. So hello, folks. Thanks for attending, and thanks to Gigians for this wonderful opportunity to talk about such an impactful technology that is emerging and changing the landscape of how we develop software and how privacy is treated. So let's talk about the Web3 stack. I think I should thank Saurabh, the previous speaker, who presented a great premise for my current topic, because he did explain a lot of things that I'm about to present, which will lay a foundation to how you can build better D apps. And I'm going to be talking about the stack, which is basically the tech stack which you would otherwise use in the current Web2 technology, and how it translates into the Web3 world. Uh, so let's take a look into how the Web2 stack is currently. I think the most basic things that we would often require are things like authentication, database, cloud storage, and some more security layers, load balancing, cache, server. Although these might be quite efficient in delivering data and fast, obviously the biggest concern over the past few years have been data privacy and all the ways that these big tech companies are storing data, and which the user doesn't even own, and it is in the hands of big corporations. So that's a major problem that Web3 is trying to solve. But apart from that, Web3 is also trying to solve a lot of things like incentivization, and there's also a lot of other technologies apart from DeFi and NFT metaverses, like supply chain management and regenerative economy. So all these require a lot of things in the Web2 world, which probably wouldn't have been possible a few years ago when Ethereum was found, because Ethereum was great. Like, it was a new foundation to the entire stack, but all it could do was validate transactions, and it couldn't provide any efficient data to the front end through which you could display a lot of things, like display a lot of things very quickly, which today's technologies like AWS or Google Cloud can do. So that is where a lot of these protocols in the tech stack come into picture and help build better D apps. So let's talk about from the ground up of how you can build your first D app, and which technologies or tools might be relevant for you or the protocol that you are building. And some of these might be really useful and very use case specific. But I'm going to try to cover the most general topics that will help you build your next D app in any space like DeFi, Metaverse, or any other use case you have. So I think, as the previous talks mentioned about the basis of blockchain and how blockchain networks work, I think the biggest one, how blockchain was formed, was the layer one blockchain, where this is the base layer where all the transactions happen, all the ledger is made, and that based on a consensus mechanism such as proof of work or proof of stake. So I think a lot of evolution has happened over the past few years. Of course, Ethereum being the first one, but we knew how slow it was and the limitations of Ethereum. So a lot of blockchain networks have been built around it to better improve the vision that Ethereum laid out. I think the biggest names are Solana, the Near protocol, Celo, Tezos. So they have unique features by themselves. Solana, for example, uses proof of proof of time to validate transactions, which makes it very faster than Ethereum. It can almost validate 50,000 transactions per second. And Celo, on the other hand, has a unique feature of being able to pay the gas fees in stable coins, which I believe no other blockchain has. And Tezos is self-amending, meaning that it has a governance protocol which lets it self-amend without having to do a hard fork of the network. So this allows for easy upgradation of nodes. So all this play out a very large role in building more and more better DApps, which are very specific to the use case, and that's where they have built a great ecosystem around themselves. And there is no one winner, I guess, because all of them have limitations and all of them have different features. But obviously, there are some limitations to all these layer one blockchains, which is popularly known as the blockchain trilemma, which simply says that you can have either any two of these, scalability or decentralization or security, but not all of them. Of course, some blockchains like Solana are trying to solve it, but there are also layer two solutions which try to initially solve it. Basically, Polygon is I think the leader in this space currently, which has more than 700 DApps deployed on it, and it's gaining momentum and traction each day. Well, there are also other technologies like zk Sync and Optimism, which basically use zero knowledge proof to validate the transactions. So how these layer two chains work is that they validate all the transactions for very low gas fee and increase the transaction rate, while acting as the commit chain where they finally commit all of those transactions to the main Ethereum chain or any other chain. Then there are also layer zero chains. So obviously the biggest problem with layer one or layer two chains is interoperability. That's why layer zero chains allow uh, blockchain networks to be built on top of them using their SDKs. I think Cosmos is a very popular one where Binance Smart Chain was built on top of it. And there's also Polkadot, which utilizes concepts such as parachain, which can talk to where different blockchains can talk to each other. So these are definitely more revolutionizing the concept of interoperability and multi-chain concept. And then we also have uh, decentralized storage. So obviously not all data can be stored on chain, and it doesn't even make sense because some networks also have high transaction fees and high cost fees based on what data is stored. So blockchain networks, the gas fee you pay while deploying a program is basically the amount of storage that the program takes up or the computation that the program requires. So storing big files would obviously not be very optimal, and that's why we have decentralized storage networks. So I think IPFS is the biggest name here. It is basically interplanetary file system, which is based on the fact that if you were suppose on another planet and you wanted to fetch a network from Earth, it would take you more than 8 minutes. But if it was cached at different nodes in different planets, then it would be very easily accessible because it's decentralized and that website is available anywhere rather than on a single endpoint on Earth. And Filecoin adds an incentive layer to this, making it easy to store NFT metadata and all kind of other game assets. I think Filecoin will be especially useful in building metaverse apps where you have to store a lot of metadata of game assets and all these other kind of large object files. And yeah, so next we also have indexing protocols. I think like the previous speaker mentioned, like indexing protocols are becoming more and more helpful and popular because obviously the transaction data that you get from Ethereum or any other blockchain is very limited in speed because uh, the transaction has to go through the network request basically has to go through every request, every transaction in the blockchain and get the data pulled from every history that has been created. But what indexing protocols allow you to do is index that blockchain data and then easily deliver it to the front end. This way you can build efficient front end apps using common technologies or common patterns such as pagination, or getting only the data you want. I think the popular one is the graph, which basically lets you index different contracts, and it allows you to query in GraphQL. And there's also other examples such as Covalent and Moralis. In fact, Moralis does a lot more than just indexing. It has authentication APIs, which easily let you connect with a wallet and handle all of the user data and fetch the NFTs of the user, of which the user owns. And it also has cloud function triggers where you can perform a specific action in the Web2 world based on what happens in your contract. So these are obviously a lot of amazing technologies that are required to build a fully functional, efficient app. Using like only blockchain layers would not be possible. And then we also have cross-chain bridge protocols. So I think the biggest problem also with the current blockchain networks is there are so many of them, and sometimes you might want to transfer your assets from one of the chain to another, and that is technically impossible, like because no chains can communicate with each other. But this is where cross-chain bridge protocols come in, and what they do is they let you transfer native assets from one token to another. If suppose I wanted to transfer my Ethereum on the Polygon network, obviously there are two different chains and they can't easily talk to each other, and especially can't transfer the native tokens. So what I would instead do is go to something like Stellar Network, which is I think the biggest name in the cross bridging. So what Stellar Network does is I will tell Stellar Network that I want Ethereum on my Polygon wallet address, and Stellar Network will simply take my Ethereum, wrap it in the sense that they will take my Ethereum and they will give me Polygon on my Polygon address, but they will give me Ethereum on the Polygon address, but they will give it as a representation of the Ethereum native asset Ether. So they give a wrapped Ether instead of the native asset Ether, and this is how cross-chain bridging protocols help you simulate the effect of native tokens on other chains. So you can have wrapped Polygon Matic, you can have wrapped Ethereum and wrapped BNB. So all these represent actual value of the token, but not the actual native asset from the other chain. I think the biggest examples here are Seller Optics, which is on Celo, and Wormhole, which is on Solana, and all these three help interoperability between Solana, Celo, and Ethereum, and all the other big chains. And then we have Oracle service. Another great disadvantage of blockchain is a blockchain can only read and write data within its ecosystem or within it's like a container basically, and it can't really look outside of it. This is where Oracle services come into play. Oracles are basically something like a magic where you can pull data from outside the blockchain and help blockchain understand like manipulate that data. And I think Chainlink is one of the biggest examples here, helping building an incentivized layer to perform Oracle actions. So Chainlink has been used by multiple protocols and dApps. I think the biggest example is of liquidity providers. So since liquidity providers like liquidity pools are deployed on blockchain networks, they don't really have a sense of the actual market value of that particular token. So this is where Chainlink can go to a market like CoinMarketCap, get that data, pull in the data and the market volume and all these essential data, and then the smart contract can figure out what should be the price swap between them. And this is how they do it. So that's why Chainlink is really, really essential for if you want to build anything that is connected to the real world data, such as temperature or famines or anything that can happen that will affect the TApp. And then we have DeFi protocols. So you might obviously have a lot of use cases and dApps where you would want to integrate some kind of DeFi feature. Suppose you want to build an insurance dApp which will provide some lending protocol. Obviously, you don't have to reinvent the wheel of making another new lending protocol. You can just simply use APIs provided by companies like Uniswap, Aave, and Superfluid. So all these have different specific use cases. Uniswap helps you provide a liquidity pool, create your own token with a pair, which can then provide value to it. And Superfluid also helps in streaming money, which was explained earlier, I believe. So, for an example, if you had a loan, or if you are suppose watching a YouTube video or a Netflix video, I think the biggest way that Superfluid would help is obviously you pay for the entire month subscription of Netflix, but a great value addition would be that you pay for only what you watch. Like suppose if I watch for 10 minutes, I believe that I should only pay for that. And Superfluid helps you accomplish that by streaming money for only that amount of time. So this is how you can integrate many of these DeFi protocols into your dApps for helping you stream money and provide liquidity and swapping. And then we have node services. So this might be if your dApp scales a lot, if you have a ton of users, I think having a private node or having a node provider for your app specifically might be a requirement, because what happens on Ethereum nodes or what happens in nodes on a blockchain network is that they get congested, and if there is a large transaction volume, they often get congested, and the transactions become very very slow. So if you want to have a great user experience for your user without having a lot of delay times in the blockchain networks, especially if the blockchain is slow, like Ethereum, then you might want to consider like a node provider. So node provider just hosts that particular node, and they provide a private API so that only your transactions go through to the node, and there is no network. There's enough bandwidth available for your DApp. Uh, this way, node providers help you communicate, like build a DApp for while having an efficient node, so that way that your DApp doesn't hang or it doesn't get slowed down. So some great examples here are obviously Infura, I think, is one of the big names, which helps you provide custom node RPC endpoints. And then there's also Quick Node and Figment. They're also picking up speed and sponsoring a lot of hackathons where you can host your private nodes. And then there's also Alchemy, which node providing is also one of the services of Alchemy. And I think the biggest thing after all of these protocols is actually the developer experience, because ultimately you're the one who's coding on top of all of these APIs and all of these different protocols. So it is obviously important that you have a great tooling in place that helps you manage your project, that helps you test your project well, so that it doesn't have bugs, because having bugs in the Web3 world is unaffordable. It can create impermanent loss of money. So it is really important that you have a framework or you have some kind of testing tool that helps you manage it. So I think in the Node.js world, we have NPM, we have Yarn, and similarly in the Web3 world, we have a couple of ecosystem uh, like Truffle. I think Truffle is one of the biggest names in managing projects, because it has a easy to use JavaScript API, and using which you can write test suits. It also gives you a private. It also gives you a test blockchain using which you have a couple of keys and a couple of public keys, which you can easily test your smart contract with. Then there's also Hard Hat, which is again a JavaScript implementation, and there's also Brownie, which is a Python implementation. So if there are any Python lovers who don't like JavaScript, you might as well use Brownie, as it has a very very easy to use Python interface and CLI tooling. So all these help you create, create contracts, and manage the entire life cycle of your smart contract. So it is really essential to have one of these dev tools in your Web3 app. And then we also have wallet and identity. So I think this is one of the major changes that Web3 has gone through, that the authentication layer has been simplified to uh, a very single unique identity, which is probably your wallet address. So any DApp you build would probably require the user to log in using their wallet. I think MetaMask is obviously a well-known name here. So knowing MetaMask APIs is a great advantage of how you can use MetaMask, use it to sign transactions and interact with your protocol. And then we also have Wallet Connect. So Wallet Connect is slightly different, where it allows the users, especially on mobile phones, there is no way to easily interact with the wallet, because unlike a browser, because it's not an extension, it's a whole new app. So Wallet Connect provides a private server where your DApp can send requests to the wallet, like in this case would be MetaMask. So my DApp can request MetaMask through Wallet Connect to make transactions or make any kind of requests. Then we also have Phantom and Trust Wallet. Phantom is from the Solana ecosystem, and Trust Wallet supports multiple networks. So that's where it's really unique. And so finally, we have developer resources. So obviously, all of this may seem overwhelming, and there are a ton of protocols which might help you with a ton of use cases. But you might also want to learn the basics of Web3 and how to use these different protocols and use cases in your Solidity code. So here are some of the resources, popular ones that I've listed down. So Consensus is the biggest company that is providing developer training for Web3 certifications and other Web3 stuff. OpenZiplin has a specification of ERC20 contracts, where you can easily implement your own tokens, NFTs, and other things. Questbook app is a learn to earn model where you can complete quests and earn NFTs. Figment Learn again is a website where provided by Figment, where you can learn examples of how to build the apps. And Use Web3 has a ton of content on Web3 jobs, Web3 books, and Web3 videos. And so does Web3 University and Web3 Career, where you can find jobs and write a lot of content. You can become a better Web3 developer. So I guess this is all you need to build a D app. I know it's a lot of protocols, but you might not need all of them. But obviously, when your D app scales, you might need a lot of indexing and a lot of resources and different protocols to make it very efficient. I think that's where all of these come into picture. And I believe there are a lot more. There are a lot more protocols that I couldn't cover, but hopefully this helped, and you will be using them in your next D app project. So I think that's it from my side. Thank you.
Hi again, Sameer. Thank you so much for all of that
Hi,
information
Digvijay.
that you shared. Uh, well, while your presentation was going on, while you were talking about all of these things, Apoorv had a question that he wanted to ask. So, what Apoorv wants to know is that if it's hard to keep a track of all Solidity updates and if it's stable yet.
Solidity is definitely stable, I guess. It's been stable for a while.
Mhm.
Uh, by updates, if you mean language features, I don't think Solidity often goes through a lot of language upgrades. I haven't seen such major language syntax changes. So I think whatever you have right now should probably suffice for a few years, I'm guessing, unless they decide to completely change the language. So
Mm.
I think, yeah, it shouldn't be too hard, I guess. Uh, the syntax will remain the same, I guess, because it's become quite stable, I guess, now.
Right. Right. Well, Apoorv, I hope that answers your question. And Sameer, that's all the questions we have from our viewers at the moment. So obviously, I would love to have a conversation with you again towards the end of the show. And I will see you then. So thank you so much.
Yep.
And
Thanks a lot.
see you in a while.
Yep.
All right, folks. So we have finally reached to the last talk of uh, this evening. Obviously, that was Sameer Kashyap, and he was talking about the Web3 stack and all the different technologies that are being utilized to build what's happening behind the scenes in the Web3 space. But now let's move forward with all of this information about Web3 and what goes on behind Web3, and then delve a little deeper into uh, how cryptocurrency and how cryptocurrency transactions can be automated using a certain something that I will let our final speaker of the evening tell you a little bit about. So I'd like to welcome Viral Sangani on the live stream with me, and he is here. I think, yes, there he is.
Yeah, hey Digvijay, how are you?
Hi, Viral. I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great, wonderful. I know it's been quite a long wait. Uh, while you till you've had the chance to come here, but thank you for being so patient. And it's we are finally here. Going to talk about a lot of interesting things now, I believe. Um, so of course, Viral likes to call himself your friendly neighborhood tech guy, which is a very fun way to put yourself forward. I like that personally. But he loves to build things and automate things. Right, and he's an avid reader. He loves to watch a lot of TV series. Maybe he can tell you a little bit about that. But right now we are going to talk about certain important things. And Viral, for that, I would now ask you to take the stage and speak to our viewers and tell them what we are going to talk about.
Yeah, thank you so much, Digvijay. So today I'd like to talk and discuss about DAOs. So DAO is the new buzzword in Web3 right now, and like many people are creating DAOs. So let's see what actually DAO is and how do they work. So before start, let me introduce myself. I'm Viral Sangani. I'm a software developer at Geeky Ants and a Web3 enthusiast. You can find me at this handlers if you want to discuss about Web3 ideas, or if you just want to say hi, you can reach out to me or on this handlers. And I've been writing tutorials for Figment Learn. So you can go to this blog.viralsangani.me and find a curated tutorials for Web3 and DeFi. So let's start about DAO. DAO is an acronym for Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. And without any jargons, it's an organization run by code agreed upon by the people who started the DAO. So it's just a piece of code that people writes, and this piece of code had some rules. And according to the rules, the organization functions. That's the simplest thing that I can like explain DAO with. So let's see the key features of a DAO. So before going forward, let's see some examples of a DAO so you can just better understand what actually a DAO is. So DAO can be a charity DAO. If you think about a charity DAO, it can be a DAO where people who want to donate will donate to a DAO, and all the donations will be accumulated inside a DAO's treasury. We say we call the DAO's bank account as in treasury. You can see, and the people of the DAO votes on who should receive this donations. This is how a DAO works. People put in the tokens or people put in the work, and the community decides and votes on what particular feature to implement. Other example could be a freelancer DAO, where group of freelancers comes together and pull in the funds, and then they decide, let's say, to rent out a working space, or let's say they wanted to buy a some software subscriptions. Or one of the greatest example of DAO is the VC funds and the grants, where people and the investors basically fund put their funds for investment, and all the community inside a DAO votes on which project they want to invest in. So this is what a DAO is, just a piece of code where people can connect their dApps with and uses the functionality. So let's see the features. It's a member-owned community, so there is no centralized leadership like in a typical organization that we have, and it's like working great so far. We have the upper management, we have developers, we have senior developers, interns. So there is a hierarchy. But in an autonomous decentralized organization, there is no leadership. All the developers are same. It's a fully transparent and fully public activities. So anything that DAO does can be seen on a blockchain explorer. So let's say DAO makes a transaction. You can see that transaction. You can see all the data that has been uh, like executed on a blockchain explorer. So everything is transparent and fully public, and it runs on a smart contract. So DAOs is nothing but a set of smart contracts put in together with some specific conditions, and that's how it works. Like I just wanted to give a disclaimer that right now DAO is in such an early stage that there is no standard on what a DAO is. Like if we talk about let's say a smart contract, it should have this features, then we can consider it as a smart contract. But in DAOs, there is no specific code structure we can say that you have to follow in order to make it a DAO. It's simply a smart contract that does some work, and we call it a DAO. Right now it's in that early stages. Let's before going forward deep into DAOs, let's see some famous examples. One of the most famous and the top most DAO is Uniswap DAO. Uniswap is an Ethereum swap service that you can use to swap tokens. It's currently like has a market cap of 68.8 billion tokens of worth of tokens in Uniswap. Then we have Aave. Aave is a lending and borrowing protocol. It's like the main motive of the Aave is to be an alternative for loaning system in current finance that we have. You can put your tokens as a collateral, and you can borrow some other tokens, some other stable tokens. So it has a market cap of $22 billion. Then we have MakerDAO. MakerDAO is an creator of DAI tokens, another stable coin. Then we have CurveDAO. CurveDAO is an all-in-one solution for any decentralized finance services. So all these are famous DAOs, and I just wanted to give an context like how far the DAOs has reached. Like the market caps are in billions, and many people are actually trusting in DAOs. We have 200 plus DAOs registered in CoinMarketCap. So these DAOs are verified by CoinMarketCap, but there are thousands of DAOs out there, and 200s are just verified by CoinMarketCap. So let's see some features. Each DAO has built-in treasuries, and no one has the access to authority to access. So DAO each DAO is just a smart contract, right? And each smart contract has an address which can store tokens. So this address is like considered as a treasury for a DAO, which store any kind of token that is there in that blockchain. decisions are governed by proposals. So in an organization, we have many things to look at. Like if we want to hire new people, or if let's say if we want to add new people in the DAO, uh, any one of the DAO member will create a proposal, and all the members will vote whether to accept this proposal or not. Once let's say the proposal is accepted, the particular function will automatically run on the blockchain, and the piece of code will be executed. So this is how decision making is done in DAOs. Then we have so if you want, so the main question arises is, how do I become a member of a DAO? It's as simple as holding the governance token of a DAO in your wallet, and you're a member of a DAO. So governance token is something that is the key to a DAO. If you have a governance token of any DAO, essentially you are a member of that DAO. So let's take an example of Uniswap DAO. If you have a Uniswap tokens in your wallet, you are essentially a member of a Uniswap, even though you cannot interact directly with Uniswap because that requires a minimum number of tokens. But essentially, theoretically, if we see, if you have that DAO's governance token, then you are a member of that DAO. Typically, DAO should be made with upgradable smart contracts. So this something that is quite complex to implement, upgradable smart contracts, because if we see a smart contracts definition, it says smart contracts are like they cannot be upgraded, or the smart contract code cannot be changed. But we can somehow add some features which allows the admin roles or the specific addresses to upgrade a smart contract in order to add new features. And DAO is the example, like a smart contract that requires this as much as anything, because any DAO is constantly upgrading and they need to implement new features. And this is where an upgradable smart contract can be useful. There are two ways to basically upgrade a smart contract. Either you can create a new version of a smart contract. That's what Uniswap or Aave is doing. We have Uniswap version 1, Uniswap version 2 and 3. And the other way is you create a smart contract in such a way that any admin role address can upgrade the specific feature of a smart contract. This is how basic DAO should be coded when we first launch it. Let's talk about governance. So governance is just a smart contract, a piece of code that decide how a DAO should work, and it's managed by governance tokens. And usually governance token is equivalent to one vote. So let's say if you have 10,000 governance tokens, that is equivalent to 10,000 votes. So when a proposal is created, you have 10,000 votes to vote on that particular proposal. So this is an ideal case. There are many DAOs in which you can restrict it to only a one person or one address can vote once, irrespective of how many tokens they hold. So it at the end, it depends on the developer who is implementing it, like what rule they had to implement in the DAO in order to manage the governance of the DAO. There are two ways to get this governance token. Usually there are two ways. Let's see the two ways. One is to buy from DEX or SEX. DEX is the decentralized exchange like Uniswap, Pancake, etc. And centralized exchanges are Binance, WazirX, and all the centralized exchanges that we use. So there are some DAOs, like let's say Uniswap DAO, whose governance token is Uniswap, and you can buy it on, let's say, WazirX. You can go search for Uniswap and you can buy the governance token. The other way to get a governance token is getting to doing some proof of work, or getting the tokens from the original DAO members. So any DAO will only implement either of this. Like there are some DAOs like a developer DAO. This is one of the most famous DAO currently that we have. It is a group of 600 very famous and well experienced developers who are creating Web3 tools. And in their ecosystem, each developer holds one dev token, and each member can vote once. So this is how the developer DAO works. And Uniswap, you can always buy it on exchanges. So this is how you can actually get a governance token. So let's see some features of governance token. So governance token is nothing but an ERC token with some special powers. And this special powers gives you the access to vote on a proposal. So DAOs uses this token to count votes on a proposal. So it's, when I say it's similar to ERC token, you can do everything that a ERC token can do. You can send it to someone, you can add, you can sell it on a centralized or decentralized exchanges, anything that you can do with an ERC token can be done with this governance token, but it has an additional feature of a voting system. So these tokens are mostly possible and mintable. So let's see what possible is and what mintable is. So possible is, if we define a ERC token as possible, then in smart contract, the people who has the possible role can anytime can pause the any activity on these tokens. So once a token is paused, no one can send it anywhere. If you have, let's say, 50 tokens in your wallet, that is it. You cannot send it or receive it from somewhere else until it's unpaused. So this is what a possible token is. And mintable is the any user who has this mintable role in the contract can create, or we can say, a mint new tokens and send it to someone else. So this is what a mintable role is. So each governance token ideally should be possible and mintable. Then let's go to token holders can delegate voting power to another account. So in this case, ideally, a governance token should has a feature where they can delegate the voting power to an account. Let's say I have 1,000 tokens and I has an opportunity to vote on this proposal, but I don't want to vote on it. I want, let's say, Digvijay to vote on it. So I'll delegate my 1,000 tokens voting power to Digvijay, and he can vote on it, even though he does not have those tokens. So these are some of the basic functionality. If you add it inside your ERC token, it becomes a governance token. Let's take an use case of a developer DAO. So developer DAO exists to accelerate the education and impact of a new wave of Web3 builders. So like there are many famous and well-experienced developers like Nada, David, Sarah. All these developers has created a developer DAO, and they are doing some amazing work. Their goal is to onboard, educate, and support Web3 developers. There are many open source Web3 packages that they are building, and they are constantly trying to educate people to onboard Web3 on Web3, and they are constantly hosting Twitter Spaces, YouTube Lives to help and onboard people. So this is what the DAO does. They help people onboard in Web3. Let's see an example. So if we go to developerdao.com, you can see all the snapshots. Let's see an example of a voting. So this is one of the vote that developer DAO has does. You can see all the summary, all the description of the proposal, and who has created this proposal. And you can see the IPFS address. You can see the there are 598 developers have voted to approve this proposal, and 2 developers has voted to deny this proposal. So this is how the members of a DAO can create a proposal and vote on it in order to make any feature new implementation inside a DAO. Yeah. Next, we'll see an example of Learn DAO, a coding example. So Learn DAO is something that I've created for the ETH Global Hackathon. Learn DAO is an DAO where people can write articles, create tutorials for the Web3 ecosystem, and they get tokens as an incentive from the DAO treasury. So people will have to create a proposal to write a tutorial, let's say, and the other DAO members will vote on it, whether he should be allowed to write this tutorial or not. And once their proposal is accepted, they will have a window period where they'll write a tutorial. And once the tutorial is published on the LearnDAO website, you can the amount of incentives will be directly given to the writer's account. So if you visit the LearnDAO, you can see these are the 3 articles that has been written, and people have actually received the tokens when they write these tutorials on LearnDAO. You can always go, you can connect your wallet, and let's see an example. If you connect an wallet, it's currently running on a Mumbai Matic. If you go to dashboard, you can see all the past proposals. All these proposals are executed. This one is defeated. That means not enough approval vote has been received for this proposal. Let's see this proposal. This proposal was is to write an article on what is DAO. The user has explained it. This is the name of the user that has created this proposal. You can see the IPFS. All this content is stored in IPFS. Then you can see the date when it was started, the block number, the snapshot block number, and 170 tokens has been given for the vote for in this proposal. You can see the voting is closed. So this is how a LearnDAO works. And let's see a coding example. So basically, Learn DAO's core concept is built using two smart contracts. One is the learn governor.sol and the one is learn token.sol. So learn token is a governance token smart contract, and learn governor is the actual governance token that handles the proposal logic. So I'm using Open Zeppelin's contract. Uh, Open Zeppelin basically is an organization that creates audited and vetted smart contracts, set of smart contracts. These smart contracts are peer reviewed and audited by many third-party auditing companies. So contracts that are provided by Open Zeppelins are 99% secure. I'll say there is nothing like 100% secure. And this smart contracts give you an let's say an interface, not exactly interface, but they gives you a basic structure to create a DAO. We can say it gives you ERC, it gives you contract to create ERC 20 token, ERC 721, ERC 1166. All these tokens can be easily created using Opal Zeppelin contracts. So I've been using the governor.sol token. So governor.sol contract basically gives you the power to create proposals. Then I'm using ERC20 interface just to call the ERC20 functions. Then we are using governor settings. So governor settings allows you to set some settings like how much time should an proposal should be allowed to vote on, and etc. Then we have governor counting simple. So this contract basically defines how we want to map each vote with. Let's say if you want to map one token with one vote, then this is what this contract does. Then we have governor votes. This governor votes actually does the calculation and decides whether the approval is accepted or rejected. And then we have vote quorum fraction. The vote quorum fraction decides how much minimum number of votes should be there in order to accept this or to consider this proposal a legal proposal. Yeah. So this is how a smart contract governor is created. You just inherit from all these five smart contracts. Then we provide all the settings. So here we are providing a name to our governor contract. Then we are providing some settings. Then we are providing our governance token address. This underscore token contains the address of our governance token. Yeah. Then we have add members. So this functions basically depends on how you want to structure your DAO. So in my case, anyone can just pay 10 DAI tokens and can become a member of the DAO. So this function basically accepts 10 DAI token and then give you 10 governance token in response. That will eventually make you a member of the DAO. Then we have set accepted proposal function that will just accept once the proposal is completed and executed. This will just keep on track of which user was the one to create this proposal. Then we have disperse incentive. So once the tutorial or an article is published, this function will be automatically be called by a smart contract that will disperse a fixed amount of token that was decided to the author's account. Then you have receive it for transaction. This is just an dummy, we can say a function call which will accept some tokens for the gas fees, because this smart contract will be making calls to other smart contracts and we need some gas fees there. Then we have a function to update the voting delay. So these all functions are some updating functions which we can make a call to and update some functions. These are basically all those functions that are required by all these interfaces and extension to be overridden. So yeah, this is an example of what DAO governance smart contract looks like. Now let's go to learn token. So this is our we can say a governance token. We can say as a learn DAO is a governance token for the learn DAO. You can see this is basically a simple ERC20 tokens with an exception. It has ERC20 votes.sol. It's you can see this is inheriting from many different extensions provided by Open Zeppelin. One of them is pausable. As I've explained, user can pause it or unpause it. Then it's burnable. Then it has some access control, like only the user that has access can pause it or repause it. Then it's again exactly as I said, this is a governance token, so it has to be an option to interact as a voting system. So here we are defining two roles. One is the pause role and another is a minter role. And this is a construction where we are we are creating we are defining the roles to the person who is creating it. So let's say I am creating this token, then I have the pause role, I have the minter role, and I have the default admin role. So all these roles are provided to me, and the admin role can add different pausers and different minters. Uh, then we have set mint role and set pause role. This function can only be called by the default admin, and which gives the rules to other accounts. And yeah, basically this is an EIC20 token with some other extra functions to make it governance token. So this is not exactly what needed. This is what I needed for my DAO. So there is no fixed structure that you have to follow in order to create a governance token. Like, it's open to your imagination, what you can think of that is required in your token, you can implement it. But voting is a necessary one, I think, because it doesn't make any sense like to call it a governance token if it does not have the option to vote on any particular proposal. Let's see some challenges and the unknowns. uh, Issue with the efficiency of the decision making in DAO. So this is the biggest issue that I have personally faced. Each DAO has some big proposals and some small proposals. Small proposal would be making any UI changes on a website or paying some really small tokens to a freelancer, let's say. So this votes or this kind of an transaction does not require all the DAO members. Or there might be a case where we want to take a decision, but most of the DAO members are not aware or not experienced enough to understand the proposal. So this causes a big issue where you need all the DAO members to accept a proposal in order to move forward. So there is also a solution for it. So there is this new concept called sub DAO, which is recently introduced in I would say in last year only, where a DAO can have a multiple sub DAO, and each sub DAO has a group of people that has the access for a particular section of a DAO, and they has the full access to manipulate it or update it whatever however they like. That feature does not require the whole community to vote on. So this is what an solution that this DAOs are working on. And despite this growing popularity, DAO has a long way to go before reaching full mainstream adoption. Uh, there is this. So basically, as I said, that the DAOs was introduced in 2016, and there is this very good story. The first DAO that was created was called the DAO, and it was like one of the biggest, we can say, DAO at that time. It had around 20 million of $20 million of treasury, and it was purely built on Ethereum. And in 2017, there was a big hack, and we can say vulnerability that the hacker was able to exploit, and he was able to steal $50 million from the DAO's treasury. And that caused to create the Ethereum blockchain that we are using right now. So at that time, the Ethereum blockchain that we are using was a different one. That is right now is called Ethereum Classic. So at that time, when this was a huge hack, developers decided to create a Ethereum fork, hard fork, and that is what we are using right now. The original Ethereum is what we know as Ethereum Classic. So the DAO was the reason people had to do a hard fork of Ethereum network. So that was the reason DAO was not that famous since then, because there was many security gaps. Now that Open Zeppelin has come and there is some basic standards we can follow to create a DAO to make it more secure. DAOs are slowly and slowly creating fuzz, and many people are like giving that trust in the DAOs. So yeah, exactly. Not all DAOs work out, because we have some great stories to tell about how a DAO can fail. It's very risky area to be poking around with, because usually and mostly many famous DAOs handles millions and billions of dollars worth of tokens, and it's really easy to make a small vulnerability where a hacker can exploit and take all the DAO treasury tokens. So again, it's a really risky area to poke around with. And according to the Mark Cuban himself, he said that the future of a corporation could be a very different as DAOs take a legacy business. So, like no doubt, DAOs has a great future, but I think it's still a long way to go before we reach stable versions of DAOs. That's it. Thank you so much. That's my time. Thank you for having me. Digvijay, over to you.
Hi again, Viral.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you so much for walking us through what DAOs are and all the pros and cons of it. I guess after listening to your talk, I guess aside from necessity, fraud is also the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for that. Well, while your talk was going on, Apurv had a question. He wants to know how he can get involved in DAOs. So a quick guide for that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
so it depends on which DAO you want to join in. The most famous DAOs, you just can, if you can buy their governance token on any decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange, you can pay in some other token and you can get the governance token. And you'll have to go through the documentation, like there is a minimum amount of token that you required in order to vote. So you can get that amount of token and you'll eventually be a member of a DAO. You can participate in all the proposals. And there are some closed DAOs like Developer DAO or Learn DAO where you can only buy this token from a particular source. Like right now in Developer DAO, no one can join. They only have 600 developers, and they have seasons. Like right now, they have closed season 0. Once they open season 1, and they will allow other developers to join in. So this is how they allow you. If you want to join any of such DAOs, you'll have to be active in their community, in the Discord servers, and look out for the specific date where they allow other DAO members to join in. So this is how you can be a member.
Wow. Well, I hope that answers your question, Apurv. Also, Viral, I had one question.
Yeah.
Uh, when can I expect those voting tokens?
Anytime you can want.
All right. Well, Viral, thank you for spending time with our viewers and telling all of us about the space that DAOs occupy right now and all the nitty-gritty details of it. If you don't mind helping me with the end, since we have already reached the end of the session and this event as well, I hope you don't mind staying with me while I call
Yeah.
on all of our other speakers of the day as well. I hope we have all of them here. Uh, just having a quick look. I see Rishabh, but I don't see Rishabh's video on. Rishabh, we cannot see you on video. Saurabh is here. Hi again, Saurabh.
Hi.
And so is Sameer. Rishabh, I think there's something wrong with your camera because we only see a black screen, but that's okay. You can just say hi again to everyone just so you're here. Are you here? Oh, it's very confused. Anyway, so I guess, of course, you can maybe figure something out. Oh, he okay. Well, I guess he will just join in. But so that happens, Pushkar cannot be with us right now today. He had other engagements that he had to move on to. But we are already very thankful for him to be spending our time and starting the event with me. I'm really thankful for his assistance there. Rishabh is here. Hello, Rishabh. Now we can see you,
Yeah.
and I can hear you as well,
Yes.
and your dog. Say hi to him from all of us, please. Uh,
Sure.
all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in to our very first meetup in the Web3 space. I present to you all of our speakers for the day. I'd like to thank all of you guys, Saurabh, Viral, Sameer, and Rishabh, for spending your valuable time and uh, talking to us about all of these important things that we need to know to get started in the Web3 space. And I think since this is really up and coming and it's one of the hottest topics out there, it was really important for us to get a very centralized and a complete perspective around it. And I think you guys have just given us that, and that is absolutely amazing. And I'd like to thank you for that. To all the viewers who have stuck with us for so long, thank you for joining in. I hope that this little gathering of ours has given you enough information to excite you and give you the push you need to get into Web3 and try building things and exploring things on your own. And of course, if you have anything that you'd like to talk to us about, you can find all of our speakers' Twitter accounts in the description below. Uh, and reach out to them, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Um, of course, this is not the only meetup that we'll have. We do a lot of meetups. We have a meetup on React and React Native, which is one of our regular meetups that we do. But other than that, we are going to be talking about a lot of new technologies as well. So stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and stay updated with all the new events that are up and coming. A special mention to all the folks who have been working behind the scenes, Rishabh, Bhushan, Maheshwari. All of these guys have worked tirelessly to make this event as smooth as possible. So a big round of applause for these guys. Yes, there we go. And obviously, just to let you all know, we have been doing a lot of Twitter Spaces before, but we are coming up with an entirely new brand called Geekcast, which is our own brand of podcasts that we are doing. And of course, you'll find me there talking to a lot of experienced folks from the Geeky Ants colony and the developer space, and we'll be talking about all these new technologies and all of these new things. And hopefully, we'd love to have one of you guys on our podcasts as well. So that would be something just absolutely brilliant. Uh, that's great. With all of that, I think it's time we close this event. So thank you so much for joining in. Of course, stay tuned. We have lots more coming your way, and we will surely see you in the next event. So again, a huge thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for spending time with our viewers, and a huge thank you to all of our viewers for taking out the time and spending it with us. And we'll see you next time. Good night.
And bye.
All right.
Sure. Thank you. Good night.